The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our MWF webinar, What's New in MWF. For those of you who may not know, MWF is capable of framing virtually any project, from single-family homes to large-scale multi-family structures, allowing users to create custom framing to define all aspects of wall, floor, and roof framing in an automated fashion. Within this webinar, we're going to highlight some existing features as well as some new features which are now available within MWF. Some of which are sheathing for multi-layer walls, the new MEP tool, the new floor cutter, and much more. If you're unfamiliar with MWF, we highly encourage you to take a look online at our products and also to reach out to us after the webinar to set up a demo one-on-one with one of our technicians. As usual, anyone who's registered for the webinar will be sent a recording automatically. And lastly, I would also like to remind everyone that you can ask questions throughout the webinar in the questions tab of the GoToWebinar dashboard. We have technicians as well as our sales team standing by to answer all of your questions. All right, that is it for me. I'm going to go ahead and hand off to Jamie now.
So I'm just going to start to share my screen, and we are in the Revit environment. So my name is Jamie. I'm a software application specialist here at Strucsoft. Welcome to the What's New in MWF webinar for the morning session of August 1st. The first thing on the list that I'm going to show to you today is the fact that you can load data from a new central location. So all we do is make sure we're settings, you go load data. Now the opportunity and the availability to do this is you used to be able to only load from individual computers. Now you can store your data in a central location on a server so that the managers only have to take care of one set of data. So if there's an update, they update it there. Everyone has the latest information. So I have a copy of my data on the desktop. I'm just going to choose the folder, select it, and then when I hit apply here, we're going to get a bunch of warnings saying that I already have the data loaded, but that is because I already have the webinar all set up. So it's a nice, plain, simple, easy to use command. It's just makes life easier for storing files. The first thing we're going to look at is a modular command. And what we have done to this command is we've now allowed it to work with split markers. So on my floor plan, you can see that I have 4 groups that are just Revit elements, and I have one split marker, which I just highlighted by the window. In previous builds, modular command would not accept split markers in any form. Now it will allow it to find the split. So I'll select my first group, and I'm going to create my panels. It's viewing the geometry for this right now. Everyone's familiar with creating panels. There we go. So my group now has 3 panels in it. Through the modular command, we will copy these group to the others, but as we've seen in the floor plan, there are no splits on either of those walls to the left. And on the first floor plan, you can see there are 3 panels. So let's apply the modular command for copy members to identical groups. It's going to take a second to do its calculations and read the geometry, but it will move everything over appropriately. Picture each one of these groups. I know they're small, but you could have an apartment where all the walls are inside. You don't want to break the architectural model in any shape or form. You put in all your splits for your panels, and as you copy it around, they will all be individual panels. And I'll show you that again on the floor plan. You can see each group has 3 panels for the group. So next we'll move on to a new feature that we have, and that will be the X bracing. So we're just going to grab a wall here in front of our shaft, and I'm going to create a panel. And once the panel is created, we'll go into the properties, and we'll get our X-brace. So X-bracing will be found under bracing. We go under edit. So you were all familiar with the braces command, where you had to individually add your left horizontal, add your right horizontal, and then you had to choose your start, your ends, and so it was multiple clicks to make a single X-brace. X-braces now gives you same options or similar options that you had in braces. You can do your structural, your non-structural. You can choose what side of the panel you want it to be on, your inside, your outside, both. I'm going to choose outside in this case. It allows you to choose your family from any family that is loaded in your project. I'm going to choose a flat strap. I'm going to go first stud. We're going to end it on the end stud, so left to right. We're going to brace the whole panel. Include cutout. It's not relative for this. We're going to click add, and then we'll just generate our brace. So in like 5 clicks, you've now created your whole brace. If you needed to modify the brace, it's as simple as going into your properties again, and you're only thinking about where you want the one diagonal to start. So we'll back into bracing, X, and so say I want to start on S2 and I want it to end on S5. We'll update and then apply it. So this will make it symmetrical. These are symmetrical X braces where you can't have one from S1 to S5 and then the other one be slightly different. These are symmetrical. The next part we're going to show you is the staggered noggings. So I'm going to switch over to a different view, create 2 panels, and these panels are going to come in with some, it's going to come in with a diagonal, it's going to come in with a whole series, and it will also have a horizontal already in the family. Now, in previous versions for your horizontals, you would have had to select each and every second one and use our move command to place your staggered, and then you had to apply it, and then that was your panel. Now, when you go into the properties for the horizontals under miscellaneous, you have a new, I'm just going to select the same one, make sure my first and end stud are selected. We now have that field right there, which is staggered offset. So the staggered offset is going to be applied at 4'6" in height. The offset is going to offset one up from 4'6" and one down from 4'6". So for this case, I will use 2 inches. We will update, and then we will apply it, and you'll see one goes up, next one goes down. If you wanted to change the height on these, the 4'6", it will move both the top and the bottom up or down to the height that you chose. So the key here is the 4'6" is the center line between your stagger. Now you can see the whole series that we have here. But wait, we have a diagonal right here. And what's that? There's a hole in it. Now our whole series are supported by diagonal members. And another example to show this, just to make it clear, is I'll add another whole series of the elongated slot hole, and it'll just make it a little bit more clear. So we're going to add this 16 inches from the bottom of the panel. Bottom, and then we're going to go with slot, add, save, and you'll see a new whole series across the bottom of the panel, and you'll see there that the hole is in our diagonal as well. Furthermore, with the whole series, you can now import and export these for future use. So we'll back under, and you'll notice in the dialog box there is export, which will allow you to choose which whole series you would like to export. You can choose none, all, and then when you click export, it'll ask you where you'd like to save it, and it's just a typical XML file. Furthermore, you have import. So you created your whole series in a previous project, or you had it and you want to import them in, or a coworker created a whole series for you, he saves it, you can import it. That is also new to whole series. The last part that we're going to use these panels for right now is we're going to create a beam pocket. So we're going to use our familiar Clash that we have, and we're going to create the clash between the beams, and we're now going to regenerate the panel. And our beam pocket should be up there because I already had it set by the markers. Now, what's new in the beam pocket is, in this instance, you can see that the top track is broke on both sides. Well, what if you want the top track to go all the way through so that when you're shipping the panel and manufacturing, it doesn't twist or turn or just get skewed on you? So you can go into your marker manager under openings, and we'll grab our beam pocket. Under the beam pocket tab, there is now the option for a continuous top track. Check the box. Also under the beam pockets, which is new, is that you can rotate the studs when you stretch the sill of the beam pocket to the nearest. You can either use start, you can rotate end, or you can rotate both. This just allows a flexibility in framing and your connections. So I will apply this now. We will get a warning when I regenerate the panel because the beam pocket top track now clashes and interferes with the horizontal beam. But you will see there the actual top track is where it is supposed to be in the beam pocket. Next is a brand new tool to MWF. This is our MEP Clash. So I just have a wood sample project here with a little bathroom in it with a typical framed wall. You can see we have our water supplies are running through and they're clashing with all the joists, or all the studs, sorry. So we're going to set up how this one will interfere. So under MEP Clash, which is under interference, the same where we have our old clash detection. So there's MEP Clash, there's clash definitions, and clash whole series mapping. The first part of this is you have to set up your whole series map for your pipes. So I chose a slot hole. That's the map. Then under the interference, you will then choose your definitions. So I created a definition called water piping. In the water piping definition, here's all your structural tags of all the items you can clash with and all the clashing families. If you only want to look at the families for the pipes, uncheck your other items. So we're only going to clash pipes with all our structural items. So that is how you set that up. You can import, export these settings for future projects as well. Now that we've actually set up the clash, I have chosen a member. I'll choose a stud, and then we'll just go in and we'll actually tell it to clash. Click MEP Clash, choose your operation that you want to choose. I only have the one water piping. Click OK, and it's going to regen and put in the holes for the pipes in each stud. It's simple, set it up once, import, export, you're good to go. Next, another command that is brand new to MWF is our wall splitter. Now, when I refer to wall splitter, I'm not referring to the actual panel. I'm referring to the architectural wall in the model. So in this model, you can see we have one large wall, and I want to split this so that I can make edits and control the panelizing. So there's the wall, and then in the floor plan, which you can place by all our original commands, there's one split marker there, and I have another one right there. So when I go back to the wall, I'm just going to grab my wall, and we're going to split it with the wall splitter command, which is under the markers. Instantly, you can just see the first wall has been highlighted in blue. The second piece, I just highlighted in blue. And the final and third is in blue. And these are relative to our split markers. So now you can define that these will be individual panels by framing them, which I'm going to frame this wall to show you an improved on feature in multi-layer walls. So we're going to quick create this wall. And the improved on feature in the wall that I'm going to show you is the fact that we have improved on the UI and information inside of sheathing. So here's the typical UI for the multi-layer wall. You'll see I have a sheathing layer. So I'm going to grab my template under sheathing. I only have one right now, which is the default, and we're going to select it. Okay. You can see now it has now put my 4x8 sheathing panel on the wall. You can modify this, which I'm going to show the properties, because that is, I believe, where a lot of the new features are. I grabbed the wrong template, so modify. So in here now you can have your sheathing family. We have a 4x8 panel. You can include gaps between your sheathing. Also, you can extend your sheathing above or below your panel. So if I wanted to go below the panel, I could put a foot below. It'll go further down. Material, you can choose your materials, or you can use the material layer. Under openings, you can ignore openings. So if I had a window in this panel and I put the sheathing on, if I click ignore all, it'll sheathe right over top, and then you will field cut where your openings are. You can also use extensions again, or you can do extensions around windows. So if you want the sheathing to go onto the king stud just halfway through, you just put a 1/2 inch tolerance and it'll extension, and it'll stop there. As for layout, we have basic tiled, we have horizontal staggered, we also have vertical staggered. So this will change the layout according on your elevation. You can also align your members. So if you want to align it to, say, any opening king studs, you can just choose whatever you want to align it to. Horizontal alignment, we use framing. That way it makes sure it stays on our framing, but you can also do it according to sheet dimensions. So this is the new part. It's more controllable, and you have more options to be able to control your sheathing. On to some, we have one more marker under wood to get to. That is, it's not new. It was previously in, but we've made some improvements. We now have the horizontally aligned openings. I would refer to this as one header, multiple openings. This way you're not having two individual headers side by side with extra studs and jacks in between. Familiar options, as in most headers, you'd have your back alignment, front, center spaced, choose your members. It operates just the same as every other one, but we now have this to be able to share a header between multiple openings. Next, we will move on to floors. So I have an architectural model here with two really large floors. This isn't going to work for me at this point. I want to split this floor into some smaller manageable pieces. I have drawn in a model line in one direction and a model line in the other direction, and we're going to use these to cut the floor. Coming from an architectural world, when I used to do this, I would have to copy, paste out the floor, make my edit, paste in the previous one, and then try to align everything, and it got really, really tedious. I wish I had this command when I was doing architecture. So we're going to switch over to our module for floors. Now, this is a really quick, simple command. You might miss it if you blink. We're going to grab a model line here, our floor, and we literally just click floor cutter. It's going to read the geometries. It'll ask you, what kind of floor do you want to put back in? We want to delete the original floor so that the original item is not there. You click OK. It's going to split that floor into two. So I've got one on the left, one on the right. I want to break this further down some more. I'm going to take my floor, I'm going to take my other model line, and same thing. Floor cutter, it'll ask me again if I want to switch what type of floor I want in it. So if I did want a different type of floor, you can choose it. I'm just going to remain with the 10 inches. Delete the original. Two more floors. One on the north, one on the north, and one on the south. So let's frame these up so that I can show you another few items that we have. We're just going to go create. So I'm going to choose, I've got a template in here already that I'm using. It's just our webinar. It's a typical, everyone knows how to create our floors again. So now we're just going to regenerate these and we'll get our framing in. As soon as it goes, these are still large panels, but they will work for the purpose that we have here today. Now you can see our joists are in there. I'm just using a standard 10-inch SSMA member, but what I want to show you on this one now is the update profile command. So you want to put a hole in here. You forgot that there's going to be a stair running in because all of a sudden someone design changed. So you just grab your floor and you can literally edit boundary. So we'll just put a hole there and we'll put one there. So now you'll see my framing doesn't match where it goes. If we go to Suite and we go to Update Profile, it will now pick up those holes. It will put in the opening markers. Once you regenerate the panel, it will then frame for those openings. I'm using a joist supported opening at this point, so nothing will go out to the stringers or the headers or rims. So there's our openings in that floor. You can grow the floor, you can shrink the floor, you can put holes in the floor. This command will allow that profile edit. It will pick up the new shape each time. The next part of the floor that we're going to add on now is our new OSB decking. So we'll just go into the properties of the floor once it loads. Keep in mind, I'm on a laptop, so this is just standard. Go under sheathing. So in here now you can do top of panel sheathing, you can do bottom of panel sheathing. I'm going to do top so that you guys can see it. I'm going to enable it. I only want one layer of sheathing. Mind you, you can click and add multiple layers of sheathing. So we'll put one. I have a default. I'm going to go to 1200 by 2400. I'm not going to change any of the settings. Just this is the orientation, but you can actually change staggered offsets as well. You can have opening tolerances. You can your sheet width, sheet length. So this is now going to go and apply OSB to our floor cassette, and this is brand new to MWF. It'll just take a second because it's reading the openings. There's our new, as you can see, it's all individual. It goes around all the openings. The next part in the floors that we've added is we've added continuous bridging, and we've also added a new service hole for the slot elongated. What's new that's never been highlighted is we can also do floor squash blocks. So we're going to do all of those in, I'll show them all in one step. We're going to go and we're going to create some marker lines. I'm pretty sure you're all familiar with marker lines, so I'm just going to run this quick here. I'm going to tell them all to be slot holes at this point so you can see them all go in, and we'll just regenerate. And then so this is the new hole that we can add in. It's the slot hole. You can have all the same controls on length and diameter as a typical slot hole and anything else. So you can now see that they are in there according to our marker lines. So continuous bridging. Grab your marker line. I already have the bridging set up. It would be under tools. So bridging, continuous, turn that one off. And I won't regen right now because I'm going to change another line to our squash blocks. And then I'll regen after that and both will appear. Clear that one out and squash. And then we'll regenerate the panel. So I did it all in multiple. You can do individual lines because I'm sure you're all familiar with the marker commands. So there you can see we have one continuous framing member, which will be our bridging, and we now have squash blocks that we can place inside as well. So those are what would be new to our floors. We have some updates into trusses. Actually, most of these are actually brand new to MWF. So I'm going to show a roof truss here. This command works in both roof trusses and floor trusses. So I'm going to grab the truss, change my module. We're going to go into the properties of this truss. Now you can see the truss has already been generated with the web. It has some verticals and also has some diagonals. But what if you only want diagonals? Just no verticals at all. You'll go under settings and under webbing. Under vertical positions, you'll choose diagonals only. I'm not going to change any of the settings, but you have the settings that you can do max bay width, spacing bay, and closed space spacing. We're going to click OK. You didn't see anything happen though. So you need to clear web first. Gets rid of all the members. You click generate web, and you now have just your diagonals, as you can see as I've highlighted through. I'm not going to go and regenerate this truss in the project because there's multiple of them. That is new and works for floor trusses and roof trusses. The last couple of changes or new updates come in through, and they're not open. Let me just grab the right spot. So we have our attic live load, which is under engineering. Unfortunately, I have ProSuite installed, which doesn't have the engineering component, so I've just taken screenshots. So you would click under engineering and you'll find your attic live loads. The next one that we have added in is seismic and wind drag, which are located under other load settings. Also, we have added in the update for the ASD codes. It's the new updated version. And the last part that we had, which popped up earlier, was in the truss shop drawings, in your bill of materials, you can now see the weight unit for the member. So you'll see besides weight, it says pounds. Previously, we never had that, and you didn't know what the weight was. So that is basically what's new in MWF. I'm just going to get to another view here, and back to Tanya.
All right, thank you, Jamie. I think that just about wraps up the webinar. Any questions that have gone unanswered will be responded to as soon as possible by our technical team. And as mentioned, the recording will be sent to everyone shortly after I close the session. As always, please feel free to share the recording with any colleagues. Shown here are Jamie's and our account manager Max's contact information. Please feel free, if you have any questions or if you'd like to set up a demo, to reach out to one of them. Just want to say another thank you to Jamie, and thank you to everyone who attended the webinar. All right, I will now be closing the webinar. Thank you.